Fresh face, Darius Davis. Good evening, gentlemen. How are you? All right?
Good, thanks.
Excellent. Well, let's take a look at the front pages. The Daily Mail kick off with Harry's hacking claim thrown out by court, and Mick Jagger not thrown out, but leaving at 3 a.m. in a similarly dishevelled fashion. Metro have Coots and Go, and an image there of wildfires, which seems strangely appropriate to that headline. Guardian, era of global boiling has arrived, and it's terrifying, says the UN chief. And an image there from the women's football. The Mirror, the real cost of our throwaway fashion. It's all ending up on a beach in Africa, an environmental disaster. A boil wash, indeed, it would appear, is coming. iNews, the world enters era of global boiling. There it is pictured on fire. And the Daily Star, finally, how do you sleep, they want to know, addressing that to those who are profiting from this environmental catastrophe. Well, those were your front pages. So, kicking off the in-depth look into the papers with our favourite, The Guardian, Leo.
So The Guardian is leading with something that's been saying for a few decades, the end of the world is nigh. Yep. So the era of global boiling has arrived, says the UN chief Antonio Guterres, as July looks set to be the hottest month on record. Although, I mean, looking at that headline, global boiling, which is 100 degrees Celsius, you'd think, wow, that's a big increase. It's an increase from, like, what, about 25 degrees or something, or whatever it is, right all the way up to 100 degrees.
But in fact,
not.
No.
It's 0.2 degrees of an increase.
0.2 degrees of an increase, and even if it were to go to the full extent that the man anticipates by the end of the century, it's 1.5 degrees hotter, isn't it? That's
yes, you can't make a cup of tea at that temperature. So
well, you could in America. The Americans would be happy with the tea you can make.
Oh, yeah, it would take ages because they've got rubbish plugs.
They just put it in and they don't worry. But we haven't spoken about this before, Darius. Obviously, Leo and I are...
Guterres says climate change is here. It is terrifying, and it's just the beginning. Guterres said, looking out the window as it rained. I wish they'd give us a bit of climate change in the UK because it's not been that sunny around here.
Well, it changes. I mean, to be fair, we do get a lot of change here. It's just like it's not, necessarily changing in the right direction. Has anyone considered the possibility that the photograph on the front page there of Onomi Ebi and Osinachi Ohali of Nigeria is a clue as to why God is angry with us and punishing us with climate change?
That's a conspiracy theory you can throw out there. That'd be interesting.
If we continue to embrace women's football,
this just feels like Project Fear. More, during COVID, they were all like, "Oh my God, you've got to wear a face mask. You've got to stay distant from each other. You can't do anything. Don't leave your house." This feels like the same thing. I mean, they did that sort of push through authoritarian rules. This feels like they found another thing to make us all scared about so they can push through the final stage of communism.
It is the difficulty, isn't it, is that all the views seem to align so much. It's all the same people believe in the same things, and you kind of go, this is like a full set. You've just bought the pack.
It's so convenient. I mean, Project Veritas just did an undercover interview with a CNN journalist who just reveal everything as soon as they think they can get laid. Basically, the guy was like, oh, yeah, this is basically our programming for the next few years is just climate change. We're just going big on that. Yeah. And it's not going to make any difference. Nothing you do, anything we do is going to make any difference until the Chinese and the Indians, take care of business. I mean, if they want to make
the one thing we can do that will make a difference, I suppose, is we could try and profit off it. I mean, conceivably, if there is a huge growing market for the technology that will enable people to achieve net zero, that's potentially an engineering
or a growing market for air conditioners.
Yes.
Why doesn't Dyson bring out some sort of magic air conditioner and Britain can become, the global hub for that market?
What there still continues to be a big market, as this channel's very own Neil Oliver pointed out recently, is beachside properties. The extremely wealthy left-leaning celebrities in America are still snapping them up.
Yeah, they're not that scared.
No.
Yeah, I'll tell you who's scared about beachside properties. Obama's chef.
It's gone dark early on. We'll have a look at the next paper now. This is the Financial Times, Darius, which is...
Yeah, so the Financial Times leads with the story that Peter Flavel, a.k.a. Flavel Flav, resigned as the Coots chief after accepting blame for the Farage furor. Services fell below the bank's high standards. So apparently disclosing information to the BBC isn't... That's not what they normally do. They don't normally do that. They don't normally lie about their clients. And it's triggered an internal inquiry to be... people are upset that, you know, this has happened. So Flavel...
do you think there's any legitimacy to him saying it's fallen below the bank's high standards rather than you have revealed an internal culture of bias, prejudice, and, you know... This is exactly what we've been doing for years.
We had a committee. We had a specific committee set up to spy on people and gossip about them, but you found out about it.
Exactly.
I didn't think I'd get caught. I didn't think I'd get caught. What?
If she knew Flavel was going to go, do you think that Rose would have gone herself? I mean, it feels like they're resigning in the wrong order, doesn't it?
I think I don't know. I think she had to. She had to go. They all had to. And I think more people really need to go. And the banks, not just Coots, not just NatWest, but all banks and all corporations need to shake up the way they do things, because at the moment they've got all this diversity, equity and inclusion stuff. Those words mean the opposite of what they actually think. Diversity means you're not allowed diversity of opinion. Yeah. Inclusion means if you've got the wrong opinions, you've got to be excluded.
And have you noticed, I mean, on Twitter and social media generally, there seems to be quite a lot of support for that idea, which is actually horrifying. I mean, the banks are one thing, but there's loads of people going, well, if he's a racist, I don't think he should be allowed a bank account. You know, as if that's proven for a start. That, you know, he is. You know, that's been projected to some extent anyway. But
everything is so tribal. It's ridiculous because when it's like, if they can do it to Farage, they can do it to you. The pendulum will swing back the other way.
Yeah. Well, so I'm on the same part of the pendulum, to be honest. I'm dangling just below Farage.
But most of the country have the same opinions as Farage. He's not got any outlandish opinions, and they'll get your own, start your own private bank, start your own private social network. Go to Mastodon with all the other pedos.
Maybe Elon Musk needs to buy NatWest.
Yeah, PayPal.
Well, funnily enough, I think there is some talk of a financial wing opening up to Twitter, but that's another issue. Let's have a look at the Daily Mail. We've got Harry's hacking claim.
Yeah, so Harry's hacking claim has been thrown out by the court. So this is apparently because it breached the sort of statute of limitations.
Right.
There's a clandestine deal, according to Prince Harry, or the Duke of Sussex, whatever he's called now, the artist formerly known as Prince. He claimed that there's a clandestine deal between palace courtiers and how do you pronounce that? And people who work at the palace and newspaper executives, and that was the reason he didn't bring his case sooner. So this deal was struck in 2012, so he didn't, do anything about phone hacking since then. But then, by law, claimants have 6 years within which to pursue the action.
Yeah. OK. So it's been deemed like a wild conspiracy theory, essentially, that he's crazy, or almost. Is that what they're saying? That it's implausible that the Queen had this kind of setup.
Yeah, and the judge ruled it implausible. That was the specific word.
So what? He's just filed his claim too late.
Yeah,
he's probably just got ADHD, so I'll leave it to the last minute and then.
It's very hard to tell these things. I know my memory is, my memories don't shuffle along the conveyor belt quite as smoothly as they used to. How long has Harry been in this kind of world of pain? I can't remember. Is it 6 years since he's been with Meghan? And I mean, how long ago was it that he was happily attending fancy dress parties in Nazi safari gear and stuff?
He was like 19 or something. So, but
it's a long time ago.
He seemed happy when he married Meghan, because they hadn't sort of fallen out with the media then.
Yeah.
Or hadn't. I mean, to be honest, the pair of them looked like they could start a fight in an empty room. You know what I mean?
Anyway, let's have a quick look at the Mirror. We've just got time to do that before we go into the break.
The real cost of our throwaway fashion, and it pictures two children on top of a mountain of clothes that are washed up on the beach.
It looks like there's just like an open air Primark.
Well, I mean, this upsetting. This is an upsetting picture because first of all, they made all of those clothes and then they've come back to them. And what's the matter with them?
I know it's like a slap in the face, isn't it? It's very. I mean, I do have quite strong views about this because I like traditional British tailoring. You gentlemen are well dressed, you understand. But there's a bit of a sort of horseshoe theory around this because I think people think of the right wing as being kind of responsible for a lot of the world's ills. But actually, you know, if you buy a decent pair of brogues, get a well-tailored suit, get your shirts made for you in Jermyn Street, that will last you for 10, 20... I mean, you've got jackets that can be handed down for... I'm wearing a pair of shoes that are 20 years old.
And they look like...
Absolutely. I mean, as long as you don't try and be fashionable, you're fine. This stuff is absolutely, you know, what would you call it? It's a sort of commodification of ADHD, exactly as you say, isn't it?
Yeah.
You know, you buy clothes for the weekend.
And they're really cheap.
They're gone.
They're really cheap, but then you wash them a couple of times and they just fall apart. But, you know, if you buy decent shirts...
I mean, not like that one.
Japanese...
But, you know, you can wash... Something like this will withstand loads of washes.
I mean, I absolutely agree. Washing is the thing. If you don't wash your clothes, they will last you for much longer.
That's another thing. That's another thing we've been meaning to talk to you about.
Point taken. Well, let us go into the break off the back of that. We've got coming up a look at the cost of incarceration, a nasty case of victim blaming. I wonder if you can guess who that is. And the latest on weather destabilisation. We'll see you in a couple of minutes.
What you get for breakfast is something that, if we do our jobs right, you will wake up to news that you didn't know the night before.
It's a conversation. It's not just me and Eamon.
We want to get to know you, and we want you to get to know us.
From 6, it's Breakfast with Eamon and Isabel.
Monday to Thursdays on GB News.
Britain's news channel.
Westminster is going around in ever-decreasing circles, followed by the media. Britain is broken. How on earth did we get into this mess? But more importantly, how do we get out of it? Join me at 7 p.m, Mondays to Thursdays on Farage, here on GB News. We will have open, rational debate. We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this. Join us here on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain is watching.
When the news happens, it happens here.
And really important breaking news.
Breaking news this morning.
On TV, radio and online, the news starts here on Britain's Newsroom.
All the biggest stories and the answers that you need from across the UK and beyond.
Join Britain's Newsroom from 9:30 on GB News.
The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Patrick Christie's, Monday to Friday, 3 till 6. We tackle the day's news agenda like you've never seen before. It's high tempo, high octane, the most controversial topics and the best guests. You will not be able to take your eyes and ears off it. I'm not afraid to ask the questions that you really want answered. 3 till 6 p.m, Monday to Friday on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
People in Britain, they love free speech, but they also love fair play.
I don't care if I'm speaking somebody from a trade union, from the Labour Party, somebody from the SNP. And I think the viewers like to see that actually we can challenge one another, but in a positive way.
We think we ask the questions that people want to ask, and often we ask the questions that we wanted to ask in Parliament but never got the chance to ask.
So join us every Saturday, 10 a.m. till noon on GB News,
Britain's news channel.
It's all about family, being in people's living rooms, all the interaction and getting to know who our viewers and listeners are.
When I was young, my dad used to say, Nana, stop arguing. I wanted an outlet that would enable me to give my opinion.
People are going through a really hard time right now, and I know that you don't feel like you're being listened to by the establishment. I came to GB News because it's the People's Channel, and I want the audience to have their say on the events of the day.
We're dynamic. We do something different. Democracy shows that the wisdom of the nation is in its people.
I get to travel to find out what the story is from a personal perspective.
The British people aren't fools. We know when we're not being told the full story.
We've got to work out how Britain moves forward from this.
It's the best country in the world.
The establishment had their chance. Now we're here to represent your views.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Headliners. I'm Simon Evans, still joined by Leo Kearse and Darius Davis. So, Leo, we kick off with every man's worst nightmare in the Telegraph, having to pay for something you didn't even want.
Yeah, for 17 years of it as well. So this man who was wrongly jailed for rape may have to pay for his prison accommodation and food costs, even though he wasn't... I mean, he's essentially kidnapped for 17 years. He says he's sickened by the idea that he would have to pay for his kidnapping. And he was, because he stuck to his guns and said he was innocent, protested his innocence the whole way through. They kept him in longer. He would have been out much sooner if he just, pretended
really?
and folded. Yeah. So if you admit and atone, then you get out sooner. And then he was exonerated.
They sort of consider him more of a threat to society because he clearly hasn't accepted his guilt. Oh my God.
Yeah. But
I mean, this just sounds like the most ridiculous. This must be some kind of weird glitch in the league. This can't be an intentional thing to make him pay for it. It must be some weird...
No, this has happened before. So people have been cleared. It's if you get compensation, if you're compensated by the state. But I don't think the compensation is that much. You're compensated by, I can't remember exactly how much, but it's
based on how much you would have earned or something.
Yeah.
I mean, you should be compensated like millions and just like
they stole his life.
It's absolutely horrific.
It's like it's the worst Airbnb ever.
It's an EasyJet Ryanair level scam. It's like Baldrick. Maybe the plan is that they say, okay, we owe you this in compensation, but you owe us this in board. So actually, can you pay the difference? So you owe us money.
I mean, you expect that from lawyers, but not from the state, do you?
Yeah. Well, actually, I do. I expect it from the state.
It is a horrific story. He obviously has our sympathy. I would imagine, though, he's got, if he finds the right ghostwriter, people will buy that book. He should be doing all right out of the... He seemed like quite a compelling speaker and stuff. I've watched it a bit today, so... Well, I hope he puts it back together again somehow, Darius, because we stay in clink for the next story in the Telegraph.
Yeah, this is a bizarre story. The Daily Telegraph leads with boiled sweets in prison and not a human right, the Court of Appeal rules. So basically, a quadriplegic disabled offender is suing the prison carers who are denying him humanity and dignity because they're not allowing him to have boiled sweets. So he's quadriplegic.
You have to put them in his mouth.
Yeah, but I mean, the real elephant is like, how is he a quadriplegic? What crime did he commit? He's the Stephen Hawking of crime. Like, he's been carried over to commit the crimes, and now all he wants is a
I don't know what caused
sweet.
this to happen. Maybe he's developed motor neuron disease or something since he was in jail. But there is something really weird about it. It says he's been on a hunger strike, surviving on fluids, apart from some cake, custard and ice cream in May last year. It's quite an odd... I don't know, it's quite a grotesque... I don't want to laugh at the guy, but there's something weird about it, like going on hunger strike because he's not getting boiled sweets, but occasionally breaking it to have some cake.
To have some custard.
Yeah.
And if boiled sweets are a choking hazard, because that's what they're saying. They're saying it's a choking hazard because he can't... he doesn't have full control. But then he's saying, well, I love the sweets so much, can't I just have this bit of joy and I don't... I'll take the responsibility for choking it.
Well, that's reasonable. They should give him a lick, like how ponies have, where you just, be licking off a big boiled sweet.
Rig some sort of arm, like a robot arm that, when he presses a button, it can put one...
Maybe Tesla could provide him with one of those implants. Yeah. I don't know, but that would be...
But his carers could be at risk of prosecution for gross negligence and manslaughter, so that is why.
Yeah.
So just eat Tang Fastics and you'll be fine.
Understandable, yeah, absolutely. Or there's the stuff that tangle, explodes on the tongue.
But I like that his hunger strike includes cake, custard and ice cream.
That is...
he should do a show at the Edinburgh Fringe Festival.
That's my kind of intermittent fasting.
Sophie Hagen.
Over to the Daily Mail, Leo, and the latest on our favourite story at the moment, Nigel Farage and the banks, of course.
So Emily Maitlis, the former BBC journalist, is accused of victim blaming after she claimed that Nigel Farage provoked a culture war by complaining about NatWest closing his bank account in a debanking row. I love how people always say, oh, you provoked a culture war. Nigel Farage didn't close his own... he didn't bring this on him. All the time, right-wing people are told, oh, you're provoking this culture war. It's no, we're reacting to something.
It's like, why are you hitting yourself? Constantly,
It's like somebody wants to show their testicles to school children and we're like, no, please don't do that. And then people are like, why are you doing this culture war? It's like, it's not a culture war. We just don't want this crazy stuff to happen.
It is obviously the case that he was internally being discussed as a problem from that point of view, right? They have not she did, to be fair, I watched the podcast, she almost credited him, really, with playing the game so, tactically well.
Yeah.
Which I suppose, to be fair, he has done. I mean, if you treat it as an objective...
He's a smart
mission.
Guy.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's not even a game to play, because a game to play suggests there's, a route he could have gone down that was wrong, and he's only telling the truth that what actually happened and could happen to anyone.
Yeah.
It's not even it shouldn't even be an ideological right-left thing. A bank should not have the ability to dictate I disagree with that. we're going to ban your banking, your ability to bank.
This comedian, we're going to ban your banking. And also at the start she says, if you put to one side the leaking of customer confidentiality, oh yeah, if we put the crime to one side, oh, it suddenly looks much better, doesn't it? You know what I mean? Yeah.
That's what I said to my ex-girlfriend.
Put the invasion
Put cheating to one side, I've been a really good boyfriend.
Put the invasion of Ukraine to one side. Right, Leo, as a nice balance to the bad news about the climate, The Guardian also have the more cheerful tidings that Shell have made a decent profit in the last year.
Yeah, they're not happy about it, though. So Shell's obscene $5 billion profit. I don't know why The Guardian is reporting profits in dollars when we're in Britain.
It makes it a bigger number.
Makes it a bigger number, yeah, but they say it reignites outrage amid the climate crisis, and campaigners have criticised the plan to increase oil and gas production despite extreme heat in Europe. Well, we need gas and oil energy to fuel all the air conditioners that we're going to need.
I was going to say,
getting hotter.
Exactly, yeah.
But it's not. I mean, it's not even that much money. They're saying it's an obscene profit. It's actually less than hoped for and less than expected by shareholders, and led to the share price dropping.
I'm going to push back on this, Leo. Oh, $5 billion is not even that big a profit.
It does depend how many shareholders it's spread across. I mean, I don't know. I mean, they're probably still good shares to have, but it's not like $5 billion. You know, everyone's like throwing coins in here.
I mean, the thing is, they made so much money off of Ukraine and Russia, and just put all the money up when that happened.
Well, the market put the price up.
Yeah, well, I don't like Shell.
They're responding to the market. The price of gas and oil has gone up. Actually, it's come back down quite a lot. But so obviously they're doing more exploration, pumping more gas and oil because we need it, because we're not using Russian oil and gas anymore. Well,
and also their profits are down. They're less than half of what they were in the same 3 months last year, when obviously the Ukraine was having the massive impact. But nevertheless, that's just how Guardians work, isn't it? I guess. So, Darius, we have the Telegraph. People on benefits.
Telegraph reports people on benefits with anxiety or depression could claim subsidised cars. So there's a scheme, part of the PIP scheme, that you can get a car using the Motability charity, and you can get a car worth up to £40,000 if you suffer from certain disabilities. And two of those that will now come under that will be anxiety or depression.
Wow.
And I'm depressed that I don't drive a £40,000 car, and I'm anxious about it. So I think this is a great scheme. No, but I mean, it's ripe to be exploited. But I mean, how are you going to prove if someone's got anxiety or if they're depressed? I mean, I wouldn't be depressed if I got given it. I'd be happy afterwards. That's right. Look, he's happy.
And then you take it back off.
Yeah, no, he's depressed again. Yeah. But you could get like a brand new Alfa Romeo Tonale. So people are like, we think maybe there needs to be some more checks and balances in this.
So it's whenever, as soon as there's a scam like this, there's a massive opportunity for abuse, isn't there? Obviously.
And even the basic idea that if these people have anxiety or depression, then they're immobile and they need a car to get around. They cheer up if they walked, get some fresh air.
Absolutely.
Stride out in the glorious British July damp.
Three things work. You do the fresh air, a shot of scotch before you go out, and ideally a plunge into some cold water, like the sea or a lake or a pond or something.
So you're recommending fresh air, then alcoholism, and then swimming while drunk.
Yes, it's kill or cure. It is crazy. You're absolutely right, though. I mean, the idea that just getting in the car and going for a drive cheers you up, that's from the 1950s. You immediately get more angry now you're in a car. Unless you're actually you need to get somewhere. I mean, if you want to go from, 50 or 60 miles away, but in towns, that doesn't cheer anyone up. Well, bicycles cheer you up.
Well, the way this scheme actually works is that in order to get the car, you have to give up your whole disability payment. So you get that instead. You don't get the payment and the car. It's one or the other. So there is that kind of thing, but it's still the fact that you can say you've got anxiety or depression. I think that's the thing.
So it's a bit of a gamble, really. So you've got that, but do you want to put it all on the car?
Well, you can take the money or you can get the car. But the car's a good deal because it's fully serviced. You can insure 3 drivers, and you can drive everyone, park everywhere you want.
Or you could become an Uber driver, I guess. Possibly.
You've got the badge.
You've got the badge
just because of your anxiety.
Because I'm anxious, I've lost the badge.
That's it for part 2. Coming up in part 3, we have stolen groceries, the latest on why we should be concerned about robots. Sounds like those could be connected stories. See you in a couple of minutes.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers. Proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Jonathan Vautry here with your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. There's been a fair amount of cloud around today and we are holding on to that into the overnight period as well. A lot of cloudy skies, some clear spells trying to poke their way through, but the cloud definitely the dominating weather variable. The cloud will be thick enough for some outbreaks of drizzle throughout the night, some longer spells of rain for North East Scotland as well. For Northern Ireland, South West Scotland, a few clearer spells developing, and it's here where temperatures will drop down a little bit more, but elsewhere underneath that cloud it is going to be another humid, muggy night, no lower than 15-16 degrees Celsius in some towns and cities. But it's this fresher air that's filtering in from the southwest that will also steadily progress its way eastwards throughout the day, and that's going to allow the cloud to break up a lot more compared to what we saw throughout today. So more in the way of those brighter and sunnier spells developing. Still a scattering of showers, generally on the lighter side, most persistent for parts of Northern Ireland. Temperatures in those sunnier spots between 20 and 24 degrees Celsius. Into the weekends, though, our attention turns to this area of low pressure that's going to be slowly pushing its way in from the northwest. So things turning more unsettled again. Those occluded fronts bringing bands of showers our way. Some of those could turn heavy with some hail and thunderstorms in the mixture, perhaps more persistently for Northern Ireland, parts of northwest Scotland on Saturday. Still some sunny spells in between those showers, but the breeze will be picking up for all of us and quite a blustery day to come, remaining unsettled throughout the rest of the weekend and into the start of the new working week as well. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
That warm feeling inside. From Boxed Boilers, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
The Live Desk with me, Mark Longhurst.
And me, Pip Thompson. It's here Monday to Friday on GB News.
From midday, we'll bring you the news as it breaks, whenever it's happening and wherever it's happening, from across the UK and around the world.
Refreshing, feisty, but with a bit of fun too.
If it matters to you, we'll have it covered on TV, radio and online.
Join the Live Desk on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
So Jubes and Co, we tackle the issues of the day with real robust debate, both sides of the fence, battling it out with me in the middle with my forthright opinions and views, and often really interesting things happen because you start with a position and then by the end of the debate you find actually, well, I might not have thought about that one.
What we need in this country is two new political parties.
You should maybe think about doing a 2024 calendar. I'm Michelle Dewberry and I'm keeping you company right through until 7 o'clock this evening.
GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's watching.
Monday to Thursday, 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. Join me, Dan Wootton. I'll bring you the sharpest takes and hottest debates.
Do you not believe in prisons?
I don't believe in prisons.
I'm completely stunned. I guarantee you there'll be no spin, no bias, no censorship.
I actually was personally quite offended by it.
And no reason to go to bed.
So I guess they've always been quite woke.
That's Dan Wootton tonight on TV, radio and online. Monday to Thursday from 9 p.m. till 11 p.m. on GB News. The People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
In a world of dull and predictable radio and TV shows.
Oh, hi. On Mark Dolan tonight, we've got big guests. We drill into the big stories of the day. The show adds up to a brilliant listening and viewing experience. Mark Dolan Tonight is the most entertaining current affairs show ever, and that's a fact. That's Mark Dolan Tonight, Friday, Saturday and Sunday from 9. Only on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Like all families, we have arguments every now and then, but actually we agree on what the mission of GB News is, and that's the most fundamentally important thing.
GB News provides the kind of platform that lets all voices be heard.
We don't hold back. We're free to say what we really think. Just because some people who live in a tiny little Westminster bubble think that their particular story is important, that's not the most important story for me.
And often they will be difficult stories, stories that you won't find on the establishment media.
Because what people think in the north of England may be very different to what they're thinking in the home counties.
We're going to carry on telling the world what life is really like for households up and down the UK.
We love to be in your car, in your kitchen as you're having your breakfast. Whatever you're doing, you are part of the show. If it matters to you, it matters to us.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
And welcome back to Headliners. We have the Times now, Leo, and certain criminal gangs are proving surprisingly cooperative.
Yeah, so the CoOp supermarket has logged a 35% year-on-year rise in crime and antisocial behaviour in its stores, including one in Poole in Dorset, which had a ram raid. I mean, it seems a bit over the top to use, like a 4x4 to ram a CoOp to nick some scones, but...
I feel bad for them. I mean, I used the CoOp in Hove, which is not a million miles from Poole, and it's a nice little local friendly store. It's not like some massive... I mean, maybe there are bigger ones. And Poole, that's like one of the wealthiest. That's near Sandbanks. It's like the most expensive real estate in the country.
It's the San Francisco of the UK now.
You're right. Exactly that. You're probably right. Yeah.
Well, it's the same sort of thing in America. I mean, crime like this is basically being decriminalised because the police will only turn up if it's over a certain amount. Even people who work in the store...
And it's hard to nick that much from the CoOp, isn't it? If you really went...
Yeah, although, I mean, a CoOp in Poole, it's going to be easier there than, like, the Lidl in Edmonton.
That's true.
But, yeah, because the police won't turn up, and staff are even penalised if they report it to the police.
Yeah.
So there's just... I mean, you just see footage of people just brazenly filling bags and walking out of shops.
The weird thing is, and because there's always these kind of conflicting narratives, and it's quite easy to produce video evidence that gets your heart racing. Oh my God, we're about to descend into that film series, whatever. Yeah. And then on the other hand, they say, well, actually, year on year, theft has been falling. The police claim in total.
That's because the police aren't turning up, so they don't write it down in their little book.
They'd turn up. The staff just said they were misgendered as they were being shot. Oh, SWAT team.
Suddenly, they surrounded.
Tanks, they'll all come.
Maybe it is best to just let these people take what they want. As you say, quite seriously, I mean, CoOp, what are they going to take? An irresistible range of English sparkling wines is probably about as much as it. Sit outside the War Memorial for a bit. Anyway, we wish the cooperative staff well. Darius, the Telegraph has a story that surprises no one.
Yeah, women are more likely to be replaced by AI than men. Well, obviously.
Sex robots.
Management consultancy said women will be more affected by companies replacing staff with chatbots. I mean, personally, I find it rude to call women chatbots, but whatever. Because they are more likely to hold lower wage jobs. I mean, let's be honest, it's because you're more likely to hold, you're not doing manual labour. No woman who's going down the sewers is going to get replaced by AI. So they're saying jobs heavily represented by women, including customer services and secretaries, are also in the firing line.
Yeah.
But not all secretaries, just the ugly ones. So let's be honest about it, right?
It's interesting whether AI will develop the kind of husky voice range and so on as well. I think it is quite interesting, though, which jobs are going, because it hasn't been entirely predictable, has it? 10 years ago, people were saying it was going to be drivers. And in reality, I think drivers are still probably feeling fairly secure. And as you say, people like you used to work in call centres, people who maybe used to help you sort of talk you through, the first 15 checks that you could go through in a broken washing machine or whatever. Those kind of jobs are going. But also things like radiography. That now, like some quite high-powered jobs in the medical service. You know what I mean? It's like taking out bites of the apple, and you're never quite sure what's coming for next.
And anything that scans, large data sets, to recognise patterns. I mean, AI can do things that humans either take an absolute subject matter expert or take loads of time. AI can do it really quickly.
Like the police, maybe.
Yeah. They've developed an AI bot that can stay in the police station eating donuts and not doing anything. It's amazing.
Anyway, listen, I think we're going to have to start dealing with this soon. I mean, I do think they're going to have to come up with some, I don't know, reorganisation of the tax code or whatever, that if you've got a certain amount of AI working for your firm, you get taxed as if it was an employee or whatever, and that gets redistributed to...
Well, isn't this kind of part of the whole bigger thing where people are saying about universal basic income? Because AI is going to put everyone out of a job, so then we're going to get to the point where everyone's going to be relying on this UBI. So actually,
But then they've said that about previous leaps forward in automation, and actually there still seems to be plenty of work for people to do. I don't know where it comes from.
Well, this is the weird thing, isn't it? You're right. Of course, when the horses and carts came in, they said that, the cab drivers in those would be, all those jobs would be lost, and those people learned how to drive cars. However, not quite so many horses around these days. That's possibly the future.
There are in Findus lasagna.
Find us horses. Leo, Calamy shocked. Jordan Henderson's rainbow laces prove no match for Saudi money.
Yeah, so Jordan Henderson, the footballer, is no longer an LGBTQ plus ally after his move to Saudi Arabia, says Hitzelsberger. I think
Thomas Hitzelsberger.
Thomas Hitzelsberger.
That sounds like he's got his own syndrome.
yeah. Part far right and part like uncontrollable salutes. I don't know. He's getting criticised.
He does the salute and he doesn't know why everyone's upset. That's not funny.
But yeah, this guy.
I apologise to him.
Yeah, this guy's getting criticised for previously wore the rainbow laces and all that sort of stuff, and now he's moving to Saudi Arabia. But surely, if there's one place he can change hearts and minds, it's Saudi Arabia.
Well, there is a tiny degree of truth to that, isn't there? It's a bit like that fellow Nick was saying a few days ago. It was, I can't remember who it was. Was it Johnny Mercer or something? Somebody had been saying about Afghanistan that, we shouldn't just completely cut them out of society. You have to try and do business with these people and gradually change their minds. I think there's an element of that. I honestly, I'm not even that big a football fan, but it does seem to have the ability to actually kind of bridge a lot of divides in society and let's be honest, most of the clubs in the UK now are owned by Saudi oil companies anyway, or worse, aren't they? Is it really that much worse than playing for Newcastle?
Well, I guess it's just another example of the hypocrisy of these. It's all for show. So when they did his club that he signed for in Saudi Arabia, done a video montage, and he's wearing the rainbow captain armband. So just made his video black and white just for that little bit, so you can't see the the armband. But 700k a week, and he just has to run through walls for the team. I mean, push walls over people for the team.
It's 700k a week.
Yeah. That's why it's nuts. It's surprising that it's I'm an LGBTQ plus ally and I believe in them. 700k a week, I'm there.
I don't know what he was
so long,
at Liverpool.
rainbow.
I mean, he was the captain at Liverpool, right? He's been a fairly major player. That would have been worth quite a bit as well. They're not.
No, the Saudis are just it's sport washing. They're just throwing so much money in it. So he was on maybe 200 grand at Liverpool, right? And now he's in the twilight of his career. And they've offered him 700,000. So Thomas,
I'm willing to learn how to play football. I'll take half that.
Do you know what Messi's getting at Miami?
Well, he basically owns part of the league, and Apple have basically brought him over now as part of a TV deal, and he's got a stake in that. So as the league grows with him, but that was a big controversy because he was sponsored by Saudi Arabia, so they thought he was going to go over there. So then when he chose to go to Miami, obviously because it's got a large Latin community, caused a big furore with all his sponsors.
Quite interesting. It sounds like you do know about this, and just for 1 second, is soccer, as they will call it in America, is that being elevated by the increased number of Central and South American people? Origin in America, because it used to be a very minority sport, but there's been a lot of. I
think it's a combination of that, but I actually do think the Premier League is growing so big around the world, especially in America now. The sport's growing there, and also the sports NFL's growing it over here because we've got the NFL here, so they're talking about a 39th game in America, so the Premier League will play a match over there, maybe.
Oh, nice. OK. Hands across the ocean. Darius, rival TV station woes now. The Guardian seems something called ITV is struggling to get... ITV warns it is in the worst ad recession since financial crisis. Wow. So earnings fell 52% to 152 million, and total advertising revenues fell 11% in the first half of the year. But interestingly, it's the adverts during the programming, but the sponsorship of programs, so Coronation Street, for example, is going up and increasing. So it's basically not many people are now watching television linearly like they used to. No.
So that's that.
Watch it with your thumb on the fast forward button.
Exactly, and that's actually they say that exact thing. They say that exactly here, that people are watching with their phone. But despite weaker earnings in the first half, ITV said it was looking for an improved performance in the final 6 months of 2023 because of a number of large sporting events, such as the Women's World Cup, which is underway, and the Rugby World Cup, which kicks off in autumn. So,
and I suppose the great thing thing with sporting events is you put the advertising in on the banners that surround the pitch and everything. It can be like a little logo floating in midair throughout. You can't get away from it. You're not having to wait, you know.
Yeah, but which one of those is doing the heavy lifting?
Yeah.
I saw Sadiq Khan's advert. Apparently the women's Euros were great.
They were great.
They were great according to the realistic badinage.
Listen, I'll be honest with you, I don't watch much football. I do have a couple of mates who gradually warmed to it a little bit, you know, grudgingly. I mean, I still think it, you know, it's obvious if you put the two sides up against one another. But that's the weird thing, isn't it? We talked about this in sport. If you were to watch 10 county championship sprinters racing against each other, it could be an exciting race. It would only be when you introduce the world champion that you realised that they're not really that fast. Do you know what I mean? And you get that same feeling with football, with women's football. If you overcome your innate prejudice against the fact that they're women...
we could just be watching Nissan Micras.
Well, famously, the under-15s played women's US team and beat them like 7-0. Some under-15 team.
And the Wrexham side, did you see that as well? The Wrexham, and they were like the senior side, because Wrexham is owned by Ryan Reynolds and another film star or something, and he lined up a side, they played them, and it was just an embarrassing defeat. But that's it. As long as you don't introduce any men, the illusion survives.
That's getting harder and harder.
That is the end of part 3. No going to bed just yet. Join us in the final section for unusual holiday ideas, dodgy memories, and DIY that'll put your teeth on edge. Don't DIY in the break. I'll see you in a minute.
Monday to Thursday nights on GB News. At 6, it's Dubes & Co. 7 o'clock, Farage. At 8, join Jacob Rees-Mogg. And at 9, Dan Wootton Tonight, followed by headliners. On TV, radio and online. This is GB News.
Now then, Lee Henderson here. Join me on GB News on my new show, The Real World, every Friday at 7 p.m, where real people get to meet those in power and hold them to account. Every week, we'll be hearing your views from up and down the country in the real world. Join me at 7 on GB News, Britain's news channel.
Join me, Camilla Tominey, on Sunday mornings from 9:30, taking the politicians to task and breaking out of SW1 to see how their decisions are affecting you across the UK. Bursting the Westminster bubble every Sunday morning, only on GB News, the People's Channel. Britain's watching.
Join us every night on GB News at 11 p.m. for Headliners, which is 3 top comedians going through the next day's news stories, which is exactly what you need, because when the establishment has gone crazy, you need some craziness to make sense of it. So join us 11 p.m. every night on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I'm Andrew Doyle. Join me at 7 o'clock every Sunday night for Free Speech Nation, the show where I tackle the week's biggest stories in politics and current affairs with the help of my 2 comedian panellists and a variety of special guests.
Free Speech Nation, Sunday nights from 7 on GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel. Every Sunday from 11, join Michael Portillo.
There'll be topical discussion, looking at the week before and the week to come. So kick back and relax at 11 a.m. on Sundays on GB News with me, Michael Portillo. GB News, the People's Channel, Britain's news channel.
I joined GB News because I was sick and tired of not hearing my views being represented, not just mine, but so many people that I knew and spoke to.
I just couldn't get my voice out there. I couldn't say anything. I couldn't do anything. Whatever the narrative was, I kind of had to follow it.
GB News is there to provide a voice for those who have been ignored by the establishment media. We think different things. We've got a different style.
GB News is here to be optimistic and positive about the future.
It's real kind of dynamic and flowing, with the audience very much at the heart of it, like a big family.
Here at GB News, we talk about the things that matter to you.
Hearing the voices from right across our towns and cities, especially our towns.
All sides of the argument represented with a heavy dose of opinion.
We're on a mission here to make a difference.
And the GB News family really is here for you, and whatever time of day you can watch or listen.
Britain's watching.
Britain's watching.
We're proud to be GB News,
the People's Channel,
Britain's news channel.
Welcome back to Headliners for our fourth and always most exciting segment. So, Twitter news now, Leo. And unsurprisingly, Musk's new name for the site has problematic associations.
So Elon Musk's chaotic rebrand of Twitter has hit another stumbling block after it emerged that his new X web domain, which you can access Twitter with now, x.com, was blocked in parts of Asia under anti-pornography laws. I guess, you know, because XXX is, I'm told, commonly used in pornographic sites. Sort of reminds me when Scunthorpe's tourist marketing website was blocked by firewalls because it contains a word.
And canal holidays as well.
I know.
I always have that. I have a load of tabs open, you know, on the browser sometimes, and they now all have that X. If I've opened a new Twitter because I want to read a thread later, so I open a new Twitter, and it looks like I've got loads of porno open. It really kind of gives off that vibe. You know?
Honest, Your Honour.
Yes, exactly. And the tentacle porn as well. That's just like your friends reunited.
That happens to me too, but it is just porn. On mine.
What do you think about X? I mean, I don't like it. I've got to be honest. Broadly speaking, I've been behind Musk's overhaul. He's made a few missteps, you know, but his intentions are good. But that feels weird to me.
So first of all, they're saying for X.com, it's been banned in Indonesia. I can't think that that's a market they're going to miss. That lucrative Indonesian market.
A lot
hundreds of millions.
All right, I retract what I just said.
Easily done.
But he's trying to change it into like the WeChat so it's going to be not just Twitter. It's going to be in China they've got WeChat and you can do everything with this one app. Social media, buying, selling, everything, video, and he wants to do that. And this is the first step on that way. So this is all part of a bigger plan.
So what would that be, like TikTok and also like
no,
Apple
so in China they use... So I flew via China and you can't do anything without this app. You literally go onto the store and your phone just scans it scans all the code to buy, sell. It's very kind of dystopian, but you can do everything that you can do.
Right.
So you could go all your social media, book your flight, book your train, all from one app.
Wow.
So and if you're not on that app in China...
So that's kind of like Google, because if you've got a Google Calendar, it also knows if you've been invited to something by Google Mail?
Not really, because it's like, imagine all your banking and everything in one place and all under one brand.
So Nigel Farage can get kicked off it with one button.
Extinguished, snuffed out in
somebody
one go.
mentions Tiananmen Square.
Turns out that GBNews is part of it as well. He no longer appears.
But that's actually a big concern. And that is happening in China with social credit score.
The system in China is linked up to that as well?
Yeah. And you can't travel if you've got bad rating.
Over to the Telegraph now, Darius. Good news for ambitious travellers who can only get a few months off work.
Well, the Daily Telegraph reports that nuclear rocket will cut journey time to Mars in half. So travel to Mars is going to be halved due to a nuclear power rocket that's being developed by NASA. What's interesting to me is this story comes out a day after we've revealed that there's alien life. So just as we find out there's aliens, we start firing nuclear rockets at them. That's a good idea. Let's push them over the edge. But yeah, they've been working on this, so it will now take about 4 months to get to Mars.
Which is manageable, isn't it? I mean, that's OK. I could probably imagine taking a journey of that length.
This is the HS2 of the solar system. Amazing.
But without the meadows and protected otters.
Wreaking less environmental damage.
In the middle of the asteroid belt.
The Elizabeth line.
I like the idea. The thing I liked about it was that it's got such a powerful nuclear fission reactor that it can't be turned on while the rocket's still inside the atmosphere. So the rocket gets out of the Earth's atmosphere by conventional means, relatively conventional, not an internal combustion engine, and then kicks in with the nuclear once
I hope it can't, we see, spacecraft blowing up. I mean, Tesla, not Tesla, but SpaceX.
The Challenger.
The Challenger. And, so rockets they're not like 100% guaranteed not to blow up. And if this thing blows up, it's carrying nuclear material.
Yeah, but it will blow up in the depths of space.
Well, they might not. That's the main thing.
Right, on the way up.
Yeah, make sure what were they called, the rings, wasn't it? That went on the. Actually, I think was Musk involved in that. I can't remember. Anyway, sci-fi news now. We stay with sci-fi news, I guess. The Daily Star says real-life Inception, though this sounds more like Total Recall to me. This is you, I think, Leo?
Yeah, so real-life Inception is humans successfully implanted with fake memories using AI vids. It's not quite like the real-life Inception, so you don't get, like, you know, Hollywood stars going into your brains
In your dream.
and acting out, you know, some really... it's amazing. Inception is like, oh, the power of the imagination. You could have anything. Oh, so we're going to have a sort of B-grade 80s Bond movie skiing around and shooting people. But yeah, basically they play deep-fake videos to people. So there was one that had Will Smith as the star of The Matrix, and then they asked people later who was.
But haven't they seen the? So they basically deep fake as someone actor into like the Will Smith instead of Brad Pitt, and they show it to these people. But haven't these people already seen the film originally?
Yeah, but this confused them, so it confused their memories.
So it updated.
Listen, what is the IQ level? Someone needs to check who's getting confused.
But I mean, how much do you know? I mean, Neo in the.
Well, you wouldn't know that Neo is not.
Well, you thought he was Brad Pitt.
You thought
no, I didn't.
I get confused
Keanu Reeves,
Neo
but they said Neo, and they've said they replaced Neo with Jack Nicholson in the show.
I get confused with Neo and Nemo. I had with my kids the other day finding Neo.
Right.
You know, but no, this is the thing about memory, isn't it? Is that the way it works is that every time you remember something, it's updated, and that becomes the new version of the memory. So if you update your memory that Brad Pitt was in The Shining, he will have been in The Shining for you from then on.
And you even get comedians convincing themselves that they wrote jokes. That What's happened to Derek? You're like,
I did that.
Or indeed prosecuting barristers as well, I believe, on Twitter. Quite sure.
What's this?
And also you get, I mean, when people give evidence in court, it's quite often revealed to be
absolutely true. The memory is not reliable. Well, the show is nearly over. Let's take another quick look at Friday's front pages. The Daily Mail, Harry's hacking claim thrown out by court. And Mick Jagger celebrating his 80th. The Metro has Coots and Go. And the wildfires from global boiling. Guardian has the era of global boiling and of women's football. They've both arrived and they're both terrifying, says the UN chief. The Mirror, the real cost of throwaway fashion. Terrible beach degradation. The iNews world enters era of global boiling. And Daily Star, how do you sleep? To the oil companies. Well, those were your front pages. That's all we have time for. Thank you to my guests, Leo Kearse and Darius Davis. We're back at 11 p.m. when Leo will be joined by Jonathan Cogan and Lewis Schaefer. It'll be a riot. See you soon. Take care. Good night.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
Hello there, I'm Jonathan Vautry here with your latest GB News weather forecast provided by the Met Office. There's been a fair amount of cloud around today and we are holding on to that into the overnight period as well. A lot of cloudy skies, some clear spells trying to poke their way through, but the cloud definitely the dominating weather variable. The cloud will be thick enough for some outbreaks of drizzle throughout the night, some longer spells of rain for North East Scotland as well. For Northern Ireland, South West Scotland, a few clearer spells developing, and it's here where temperatures will drop down a little bit more, but elsewhere underneath that cloud it is going to be another humid, muggy night, no lower than 15, 16 degrees Celsius in some towns and cities. But it's this fresher air that's filtering in from the southwest that will also steadily progress its way eastwards throughout the day, and that's going to allow the cloud to break up a lot more compared to what we saw throughout today. So more in the way of those brighter and sunnier spells developing. Still a scattering of showers, generally on the lighter side, most persistent for parts of Northern Ireland. Temperatures in those sunnier spots between 20 and 24 degrees Celsius. Into the weekends, though, our attention turns to this area of low pressure that's going to be slowly pushing its way in from the northwest. So things turning more unsettled again. Those occluded fronts bringing bands of showers our way. Some of those could turn heavy with some hail and thunderstorms in the mixture, perhaps more persistently for Northern Ireland, parts of northwest Scotland on Saturday. Still some sunny spells in between those showers, but the breeze will be picking up for all of us and quite a blustery day to come, remaining unsettled throughout the rest of the weekend and into the start of the new working week as well. Enjoy your evening. Bye-bye.
The temperature's rising. Boxed Solar, proud sponsors of weather on GB News.
What you get for breakfast is some